Les the Plumber. And Les the Plumber comes from Boca Raton, and the guy comes in and just in 30 seconds rattles off about 600 one-liners and just makes us laugh every time he does it. So we've got a little rearranging to do up on the stage here before we get to the CB Radio All-Star Band. So I'd like to bring Les the Plumber up here just to warm you up a little bit. A little night at the Improv. So put your hands together all the way from Boca Raton, ladies and gentlemen. Les the Plumber.
Thank you, everybody. I came here under duress because when I told my wife that I was going to go on stage and do comedy, she said, "Why don't you take the next stage out?" But that didn't work, and that didn't defer me from that. So I came here because Joe asked me to, and also I'm honored to be here, and I want to wish everybody a happy Mother's Day. And you'll have to excuse me for a minute. I got to take out my paraphernalia. Okay. So far, I didn't hear anybody laugh. So if you start to laugh, I'll feel better. You know what I mean? I come from Brooklyn. I'm Jewish. And did you know that Abraham Lincoln was Jewish? He was shot in the temple. And do you know that? You know why all the Jewish married men die first? Because they want to. And you know why my wife divorced me for religious reasons? Because she worships money and I don't have any. And aside from that, one day I was walking and I saw this 90-year-old man in the park, and he was rustling with something, and I watched him, and he picked up a frog, see? And the frog said to him, "If you kiss me on the lips, I will become the most gorgeous woman you ever had and give you the greatest sex you ever had." And with that, the old man takes the frog and puts it in his pocket and keeps walking. And he's walking, and about 10 minutes later, the frog comes out of the pocket and says, "Didn't you hear what I said I want to give you?" He says, "Look, at my age, I'd rather have a talking frog." Now, I know you hear a lot of Italian jokes, so I'm not going to tell you any, except that the Italians came out with this new car. It's called the Mafia. It comes with 2 hoods. And do you know what kind of lights they have on Noah's Ark? Floodlights. And do you know what you get when an Indian drinks tea? You get TP.
Oh, good.
And did you hear about the doctor calls up Mrs. Cohn? "Mrs. Cohn, your check stopped." He says, so did my arthritis." I guess you didn't like that joke, so we'll tell another one. That's all. Did you hear about the couple that got divorced and they owned the gold mine, and she got the gold and he got the shaft? And did you hear about the broken pencil? It's pointless. And if I continue on like this, we'll be doing pretty good. So I'm going to tell you about what Adam said to Eve. "Step back, I don't know how big it's going to get." And did you hear about the guy that walks into the veterinarian's office with a dog, and the dog is not moving, and the vet says, "I think the dog is gone." So the guy says, "No, this dog was moving and moving." He says, "I don't know." So he says, "Well," the vet says, "put him down here," and he puts him down there, and we'll give him a test. With that, he goes in the back, and he brings out a cat, and the cat's running all around. Dog's not moving. So the guy says, "Oh, I guess my dog is gone." He says, "What do I owe you?" The vet says, "You owe me $700. $700? He says, "Yes, it's $100 for my visit and $600 for the cat scan." And then, of course, there was the guy who woke up in the morning, and he was 65, and he says to his wife, "I'm going down to get Social Security." His wife says, "You can't get Social Security, you don't have a birth certificate." He says, I'm going down anyway. He goes down there, tells the lady, I want my Social Security, I'm 65, and I just forgot to take my birth certificate. And she says, well, I can't help you too much, but then she says, wait, come over here, open up your shirt, let me take a look and see what you got. And she sees all the gray hairs on his chest, and she goes ahead and she says, okay, I'll give you Social Security. And he goes home, tells his wife what happened, and he says that I had to open my shirt, she looked at my gray hairs, and everything is just terrific, and gave him the Social Security. So his wife says, you should have dropped your pants, you might have got disability.
Okay, that's it, Les.
Okay, folks, happy flushing. Past the grave, see? And the one Englishman said to the other Englishman, do you know who's in the grave? And he says, no. He says, well, Beethoven is in there. He says, do you know what Beethoven is doing? He says, no. He says, he's decomposing. And then, of course, there was the honeymoon couple who was on the way to the Fontainebleau Hotel. And as they're driving, he puts his hand on her knee. And she says, you know, honey, we're married, we can go further. So he drove to Key West. And you know the difference between a snow woman and a snowman? Snowballs. And you know why they give Viagra to all the old men in the nursing home? Stops them from falling out of the bed. You like that one, huh? I know. Oh, yeah, of course there's the Eskimo. The Eskimos, they sit on the ice a long time, and you know what they get? Polaroids. And then, of course, there was the lady that walks into the pharmacist, and she said, you know, I'd like to have some arsenic. I want to kill my husband. So the pharmacist says, I can't do that. That's illegal. She says, well, with that, she takes out this big thing. And her husband making love, and she shows it to the pharmacist. And the pharmacist says, oh, I didn't know you had a prescription for that. And then, of course, there was the lady that took the infant to the pediatrician, and the pediatrician is examining the baby, and he says, oh, I see what's wrong. The baby is undernourished. So with that, he turned around to the lady and he said, do you breastfeed or bottle feed? And she said, well, we breastfeed. So he says, with that, I have to examine you. And he's examining her up and down and back and forth. He says, oh, I see what the problem is. You have no milk in your breast. She says, well, I'm only the grandma, and I'm glad I came along for the ride. And then, of course, there was the 75-year-old lady that gave birth, and the neighbor comes over. And the neighbor comes over, and she wants to, with a present, to see the baby. So the lady says, well, look, come in, have coffee. I don't know the baby, I can't show you the baby right away. Okay, so they're talking. It's a half an hour now. She says, well, I'd like to see the baby. She says, well, not yet. I still would like to talk a little bit better. You know, more and this and that. Things are going on. Finally, the lady says, look, it's an hour now. I'd like to see the baby. The lady says, well, look, I can't show you. I can't show you the baby until he starts crying because I forgot where I put him.
That's a
really bad joke. All right, well, listen, we got to have some really bad ones and some really good ones. You know what I mean? I'm good.
Put your hands together. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen.